We understand everything with the help of mind, and mind has some rules. Anything that falls in the dimension of time, space, and causality comes in the realm of mind. Whatever you can think of has to fall into one of these three. Let's say you think about an object, for example, a pen. So, pen exists somewhere in the space. At some place, it. If you are thinking about pen sometimes in the past, then it exists in the past. If you are thinking about pen in future, then it exists in future. If it is at present, it is in the present. So there is time and space associated with the objects of the world that one can think about. Similarly, there are some things that do not require time and space, but they have causality. Causality is basically a relationship of causation between cause and effect. For everything, our mind seeks some kind of explanation. If this pen exists, then why does it exist? What has caused it to happen? And things like that. When a tree grows, why does it grow? Because sunlight falls onto it. There is water supplied to the roots. There is air, and air has carbon dioxide and oxygen. So these are the specific conditioning because of which something happens. So there is a cause and there is the effect. And it is one of the basic necessity of mind to accept anything when it comes into the realm of causality. If something breaks that causality, then mind considers it to be a fake thing or illogical thing. So the three things are time, space, and causality. Anything that your mind can think of has to fall into one, two, or all the three categories of these three parameters, of these three dimensions. There are some things which do not fall into this category, like time and space, some like your feelings, your anger, your love, your hatred, your jealousy, your emotions. They do not require any time or space parameter, but they exist. They exist in your mind and they have causation. So even though they are not bounded by the time and space, they are bounded by the law of causation. If there is hatred, then what is the reason of hatred? If there is love, what is the reason of love? If there is anything which is beyond these three parameters, then your mind becomes incapable to get hold of it. Mind simply cannot comprehend such a thing which lies beyond its purview, and mind drops. To think about anything which is beyond time, you have to think about mind in its maximum possible expanse. When you think about just one incident which is happening on the earth, then you get too much involved into it. When you think about immediate past and future, you get very much attached to it. When you think about the infinite expanse of time which has come before this event and the expanse and the vast amount of time which is going to come after this event, then your mind dissolves. For example, when you think about your tiny birth, you get too much involved with life. But when you think about the birth and rebirth that has been happening for so many millions of lives, your immediate problems dissolve. You are having problem with wife, you are having problem with jobs, you don't have much money, you have lot of enemies. All these things will create problem for you when you think about them at this point of time. But when you think about them in terms of all the births and rebirths that you have gone, because you are not beginning this life from your birth. You have got lot of things from your past birth. And in your past birth, you have got many more things from your past to past birth. And that way, it is an endless cycle. You have been dying and being born, dying and being born, so many infinite number of times. And when you realize that fact, your concept of time becomes so infinite that you just are uh, a small droplet in that ocean. In the vast expanse of time, in that vastness of ocean, you are just a drop. And when that drop dissolves into the ocean, your mind drops. Similarly, when you think about spatial concepts, when you just think about your house or your place, your country or your village, your town, your mind is too much involved with all these identities. This is your house, this is your village, this is your town, this is your state, this is your country. All these are the identities that have been superimposed onto yourself. These are like the shirt or the hat that you have been putting on. And when you attach too much importance to these identities, they result into problems. Now, expand your space. Expand it to include the whole earth. Expand it further to include the whole solar system. Expand it to include the whole galaxy. Expand it to include the whole Brahmand, the whole universe, and many such universes, multiverses, the whole of the existence. As soon as you encompass the whole existence, your mind drops. Because mind cannot think about anything infinite. It it has to live in the finiteness. And the third thing is causality. When you drop the concept of causality, your mind subsides. Your mind is unable to think about anything which doesn't have a causation. Like if your mind thinks about the ultimate bliss, the infinite bliss, your mind drops immediately because there is no causation to it. Your ultimate nature is not bound by these concepts of mind. Your ultimate nature is beyond these concepts which are created by mind, or superimposed by others onto you. The concept of causality is mainly entertained by a faculty of mind called intelligence, because it is the task of intelligence, buddhi, to do the dissection. It is not able to accept the thing as they are. When your mind sees a flower, it is not seeing a flower. It has started doing the dissection of that flower. It will start looking into all the past patterns of how the flower should look like, whether the color is perfect, or whether the smell is right, or it is just bloomed, or it is going to die down soon, or is it small, more than average, less than average, what type of flower it is, whether it is a forest-like flower or something like rose, which is good for to be given to your girlfriend, or whether this kind of flower can be given to the temple. So all these things start happening in your mind, subconsciously or consciously, but you do not accept that flower as it is. Immediately after the flower is available before your eyes, you are not watching it with the full attention, because 90% of your mind is doing the judgment, and that judgment is the faculty of intelligence. If you drop that judgment and just witness the flower in your complete awareness, you witness that flower in such a way that you are no more there, just that flower is there, and the deepest witness within you is there, which is devoid of all the past memories of the flower, which is devoid of all the past judgments about the flower. Just you and the flower exist. This is the state that J. Krishnamurti calls as the state of choicelessness. And in the state of choicelessness, the intelligence is of least value, because this task of dissecting everything and running behind the reasons, running behind the causes of everything is practically of no value. You dissect everything, cut down, and finally analyze everything. And then what? It doesn't work that way. This universe is about synthesis, not analysis. So, the one who sees everything in its totality is bound to realize the truth than the one who is going to dissect everything. This is the approach of science. Science is a very intellectual thing. It just cuts down everything into pieces and then analyzes it further. Whereas spirituality is about synthesis, which is exactly opposite to the science. It synthesizes everything. It does not make you think that you are alone. It makes you think that you are just a part of a whole. There is a whole, there is a one complete one, and you are just a drop into that. Half of your lungs are there on the trees. You are giving out carbon dioxide. They are taking carbon dioxide. They are giving oxygen. You are taking oxygen. This is a symbiotic relationship with the tree. People die. They dissolve into these five elements, and then they come back. A new baby is born from these five elements. It's a continuous give and take which is happening in the universe. So you are not alone. You are not independent. There is a symbiotic relationship of a human with the whole environment. So any study which is done by dissecting the phenomena is bound to lead to a dead end. Whereas spirituality, with it, when it oversees everything as a whole, results into the ultimate fulfillment, which is called Brahman. The sense of realization and the awakening happens when such a synthesis happens to such an extent that the whole universe appears to be just one entity. There is nothing else apart from the universe. So this time, space, and causality, these three phenomena of mind, they are they are the three, you can say, limbs of mind through which mind grasps things. And when these limbs are cut down, when the concept of time is cut down, right now at this moment, don't think about your past, don't think about your future, just be in the present moment. And this present moment is the only thing that you have. And when you are in the present moment, the concept of time drops completely because the time exists in the mind. There is no such thing called time. It is just your past accumulation in your memory. When you look through them, you call it a past. Otherwise, there is no thing in this universe which is called past. When you look through all the projections of the future, you call it future. So, when you drop these two concepts of mind called past and future, you remain only in the present. And when you remain in the present, there is nothing called time in your mind. And that dimension is completely lost. When you see yourself as limited by this body, when you see yourself just what you are inside this bag of skin, you identify yourself with just the body, then you have a limited sense of yourself. And this limited sense of self results into a sense of unfulfillment in yourself. Because the nature of mind is such that it is not satisfied with the finite and it cannot get hold of the infinite. So the first thing which comes into your mind is that you are just this body. So you go on acquiring wealth, you go on acquiring properties, you go on acquiring lots and lots of land because you think they are just the extension of yourself. The moment you have acquired, let's say, 1 acre of land, you identify each and every bit of that 1 acre to yourself. If your neighbor's cow enters into that 1 acre, you'll start making faces because you identify yourself with all that entire 1 acre of land. And this process of accumulating the wealth, process of accumulating more and more land, process of accumulating lots and lots of objects of the world is solely because the mind thinks that it is the finite one. When the mind drops this idea of being finite, this desire for acquiring more wealth, desire for acquiring more objects and lots of land, it drops automatically. So these three things, the time, space and causality. At once, when you meditate upon these three aspects of mind, the mind will dissolve automatically. And once it is dissolved, you will have a glimpse of that ultimate power within yourself, which is called consciousness. And then you will realize that the ultimate crux, the ultimate core of your being is that consciousness on which the mind superimposes time, space, and causality and brings about all the actions of this world. When mind imposes time, space, and causality on the consciousness, the world is born. And when these parameters drop and the mind dissolves, the whole world is resolved into your consciousness and you enter into the state which is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Hari Om Tat.